The playoffs have begun, and the Rays are looking from the outside.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Rays podcast. Locked On Rays is part of the On Podcast Network, your team every day, and we are Kevin and Ulysses.
And we have been lifelong Rays fans podcasting about the Tampa Bay Rays since 2019.
Later on today's show, we discuss a key departure in the Rays front office. In a few minutes, the Rays' new ownership group has a great opportunity to build goodwill with the fan base. But to start, the MLB playoffs are a reminder that the Rays weren't built for October.
And we're going to talk about all that thanks to FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. To use across the app, download the app today. Yeah, the playoffs are making it clear that this Rays team wasn't built for October, Kevin. Watching these teams, what happened in NLDS Game 1, I think was very succinct. You have a team that is able to turn the tables on one of the best pitchers in the National League, and Christopher Sanchez. And you go from throwing Ohtani as a starter, then you go to Glass now, to Vesia, to Roki Sasaki. That's just another type of baseball. That's just like another type of talent scope that the Rays just don't have. Like, the Rays are going to throw out there Mesa Montgomery, right? A guy who can't, find the strike zone, and you're going to have to pitch your fourth in line. So what? Instead of Luis Gil against the Blue Jays, and the Yankees get stumped, by the way, your fourth pitcher is Shane Boss on Game 1. It's just this team showed amounts of brilliance in the 25-9 run, but they also ultimately, in a 162-game sample size, showed they just weren't made for this October.
No, they weren't. And the way that some of these playoff teams are built, it kind of underscores how much more work the Rays have to do to get to that point, even just squeezing in as a wild card. And again, this team finished 77-85, and you had a combination of injuries, young players, inexperience, turnover, all that. And then I've watched bits and pieces of the playoffs, and you see, even in the wild card or the divisional series, the environment, the pressure, the stress. How do our 21, 22, 23, 24-year-olds handle that if and when they get to that point? And between the offensive abilities and pitching abilities of some of these teams that are in the playoffs, it just shows there's quite a gulf that the Rays have to try to overcome. And hopefully they can take some steps in 2026 to get to that point. But we're seeing teams, like you mentioned, the Dodgers, they're super teams. They're monsters. They're just absolutely loaded from top to bottom. It's not just a matter of, the Rays have always been built on depth, and we trust our 25 or 26 guys. Well, it seems like with a team like the Dodgers, you have not just 26 really good players, but 26 superstars sometimes.
It's crazy because, like, you're like, oh, okay, I got Shohei Ohtani out. Okay, I got Mookie Betts out. Whew, okay, that was rough. And then you're like, okay, to Oscar, I can handle him. Boom, 3-run bomb. And then you're like, damn, okay, well, who's next? Freddie Freeman? What the bleep, man?
Yes,
it's just another type of level. And look, don't get me wrong. I think, honestly, that 4-5 lineup that the Rays can put together is really, really good. Like, you got Yandy Diaz, Brendan Lau, Junior Caminero, Jonathan Aranda. You feel really good about those 4 guys. But there's a difference in talent level and pedigree and fear around the league of those 4 names to when you put them against the Dodgers, or even, the Phillies too, right? The Phillies have some names in there too, and they couldn't handle the Dodgers in Game 1. The Yankees got stumped on by the Blue Jays 10-1, but this is the same team that the Rays couldn't beat when they had to beat them in a 2-game homestand in their own home, and the Rays couldn't get it done. It's just there's differences that are very tangible, and also those that you can see with your eyes. And I know new age baseball people hate that, so earmuffs here. But you can notice these things also with your eyes. You might not have to have a percentile graph to tell you, oh, okay, they're uncomfortable. It's 10,000 people, not 40,000 people yelling at you.
Yeah. And things can turn on a dime. And with some of the Rays pitchers that were giving up home runs left and right, you step into a team like the Yankees or the Blue Jays or the Dodgers or the Phillies, and you can be in big hole pretty quick. And, some of these teams, they're able to erase out of that hole. I don't know if the Rays would have been prepared for that. I'll just say this about the playoffs. I'm hoping and praying that we don't see the Yankees or the Dodgers in the World Series. I'll take the Blue Jays at this point. I'll take the Phillies at this point. I just don't want to see the Blue Bloods, the superpowers. It's just, to me, and I know that the television, everybody, the national media wants it. They want Yankees, Dodgers, but to me, it's so cliche. I want to see somebody new in there. Brewers, Tigers, give me that.
That would be great, right? If you get some new blood in there. Seattle obviously couldn't come up with that big hit yesterday or Saturday rather, and they were left wanting. So no, it should be a fun October. I don't know how much Rays fans are going to be plugged in. So put it down in the comments. Will you be watching the playoffs this year? Because I think some people might have just tuned out completely. And if they're football fans, they're now moved on to football. But if they're not really into it, like I'm not, then are you sick of baseball and you just want to unplug? Or are you still wanting some more baseball and you're actually watching the playoffs? I think that'll be really interesting to know. But from loud stadiums to loud fans, let's talk about the new ownership and what they owe to the fandom already.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It undoubtedly makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little extra something riding on the action. And whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel, they make the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Kevin, let's talk about the new ownership.
Yes.
There was a great article by Mark Topkin on the Tampa Bay Times and the questions that need to be asked to the new ownership. But I want to zero in on one. Mark reminded us that when Stu took over in October 2005, he offered free parking for the next season, right? I think it is imperative that Salupski and the ownership group that is coming in does something similar for fans. I think you have to show goodwill to people. You have to introduce yourself in a positive manner, even if that's going to knock off a little bit of that profit margin that first year. I think it's ultimately, if you went to business school or if you know just about life, goodwill is a thing. It's a thing for businesses to try to do something positive, and then they'll get way more in return ultimately. I think that's needed because our fandom, Kevin, has been publicly shamed regarding the stadium issue, for example, for the last 20 years.
Right.
And it has been shamed about the lack of attendance nationally and regionally for the last 20 years. They have been publicly shamed by their own ownership, saying we're going to split your season in Montreal, or well, the hurricanes are happening, so the thing that we said that we're here to stay, we're no longer here to stay. It's just been one after another, and this new ownership has a great opportunity to present themselves in a positive way, and doing something as simple as free parking would go very, very far for this fandom.
Yes, I would love also to have Junior Caminero extension, or bringing in JT Realmuto or something like that. But if you're not able to do that at this particular juncture, I think you need to help the rank and file fan base, especially those with families. And something, maybe it is free parking or heavily discounted parking, because one of the complaints that we've had and so many other fans have had is the cost of going to a ball game, especially if you have a family. It gets really expensive between the parking, the tickets, the concessions, all that. And then, if you add in merchandise, you want to get a t-shirt or a ball for your kids, it really adds up. And I think that this new ownership group can be creative with something. If you don't want to reinvent the wheel and do the free parking, the carpool, 4 people in a car, free parking, I'm fine with that. I would also consider and suggest, look to what the Miami Marlins have done. I went to a Marlins game a few months back, and they actually have a specific concession stand. It's labeled the 305 concession stand, where you can get a hot dog, a beer, a soda, popcorn, pretzel bites. Everything on that menu is $5 or less, between $3 or $5. I think something like that you can make it more affordable and appeasing for the fans to come back. And you can promote it, you can market it, and see if you maybe don't lose all that much money out at the end of the day. If you can tell somebody that, hey, you can go to a game for a relatively inexpensive number, it's all about this fan base has been jaded over the last several years by Stu Sternberg. So you can come in and do something that builds that goodwill again. And I think it's really important. And I would hope and implore them to do something like that. They got a lot of creative people in that organization. I would think that they can figure something out.
And it's not rocket science either, right? Like, it's trying to make it easier for people to go to the stadium. It's trying to make it a more enjoyable, happier experience for families to go. Like you're saying, if you go with a family, say you have 2 kids, wife, husband, whatever, dude, you're not getting out of there unscathed from your bank account. And we're not asking, tickets seem to be $5. No, we know the reality that we live in. But because we know the reality that we live in, and we know that if you buy 7 things at Publix, it's going to cost you $80.
Yes.
That's like our new normal. Okay, you buy 7 things, you're in the express lane, and it's $80. Well, don't do that for the baseball game. Like, you are making your money. Like, give us something so that we can wash away that public shaming. It really was public shaming that Stu and the ownership did at times to the fandom. So I think they need to start on a good path. They need to kind of have a new beginning, so that they can definitely have a before and after of the Sternberg ownership to the Salupski ownership. Something as simple as, you have your car with 4 people, free parking. That used to happen, by the way. I know for you youngins don't remember that.
And you could bring your own, I believe you could bring your own food and water in.
I remember that, like in high school and early days in college, maybe just high school actually. You have 4 people in the car. That's free parking. Like, that's awesome. I know that I went to games in college with USF friends, and we didn't pay parking because we had a whole full car. Like, you could do those. Like, that helps. I think they need to do something like that. I appreciate Topkin putting that reminder out there, because it's needed, man. You need to have a before and after Sternberg and Zalupski, and just get some goodwill power. Because ultimately, Kevin, Yes, you need goodwill from the politicians. So you're going to be shaking hands and
Right.
you're going to be asking for funding 1,000%. But don't just stop there. Like feed
Yeah.
also the Rays fandom as well.
Or, create some sort of unique partnership with a business to get cheaper tickets. I believe I was in college when this offer was made. If you went to 7-Eleven during certain Friday games, you could get a ticket for $7.11. You can't beat that for being able to see a major league product. So whether it's 7-Eleven or a King's Furniture or a car dealership, having some sort of creative outlet to be able to lower the ticket price, I think would be very important. So we'll see what they do.
Remember, they had a great thing at Steinbrenner, the $20, rush tickets. You can just get them and standing room only. Well, guess what? We're at the Trop now. You don't need to banish us to use our feet and our legs for 3.5 hours. Put us in the worst seats for the Rays rush tickets. Put us, behind the
open the tarps.
Open the tarps if you want. All right, open one tarp section, behind like 303 or 305, and then we'll be there. But something needs to be done to get people in the door, like get us excited again. I think the fandom is aching to be excited. Like the Trop opening, that the people want to go back to the Trop. We want to go back to the Trop. We love AC in June and July, baby girls. So get us in the door.
Yeah. And I think, Ken Babby and some other folks within the organization, they've worked or owned minor league teams. And minor league teams, if we know anything about them, are extremely creative of bringing people into the gates, because they can't just rely on, hey, it's a major league superstar that you're going to see. And here's the thing is you're taking a family of 4 or 6 to a game. There's no guarantee you're going to enjoy that game. It could be a 5-0 shutout. So if you can do anything to help appease that, especially as the team is trying to get back into playoff contention. I mean, it'd be a little bit more understandable if, hey, we're not going to really do much for the fans because, hey, we just won 98 games. But you're not in that position. You've had 2 straight losing seasons. So you got to try to build it back up again. So
exactly.
Meanwhile, with the Rays, front office moves have begun, and more shuffling is likely to happen during the offseason.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. So let's not do that. And you can avoid that by using Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone, even when you're on the go. And you want to know what's going on, you can just look at the Monarch Money app, and there it is. So do not let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com using promo code LOCKEDONMLB.
Thank you for listening to the Locked On Rays podcast and making us your very first listen every day. We appreciate it. We are, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Assistant General Manager Carlos Rodriguez, he is departing, and that signals more turnover can and may happen before opening day. Rodriguez, in a statement, said, quote, "I've decided the time is right to step away and transition to explore other opportunities. While it's difficult to step away, I'm excited to see what the future holds and am confident the organization is in great hands and moving forward." And if you're wondering, hey, I've heard the name Carlos Rodriguez. I really don't know much about him. Well, he had an incredible 15-year career with the Rays, including the last 4 as vice president / assistant general manager. And let's not forget, or let's remember, that he was involved in the signing of key players such as Jose Alvarado, Jonathan Aranda, Wander Franco, Christopher Sanchez, and the trade for Caminero. He was also very involved in the expansion of the Rays Academy in the Dominican Republic, where if you want to win Major League Baseball games, you better have roots set up in the Dominican Republic, among other Latin American countries and areas. So, with the new ownership group coming in, we're seeing maybe the first of several dominoes to fall, Carlos Rodriguez being one of them. My understanding is the Rays will try to promote from within to fill that position, but there could be several more shakeups on the way.
I think it's natural, right? We talked about this, I think 2 weeks ago, saying, hey, this could happen. Boom. Carlos Rodriguez is out. So, like,
yeah.
It's not a surprise that when a new regime is going to be implemented, that, you know, people are going to either say, you know what, this is not for me, or another opportunity, or it could just be simple as what he said, which is like, I want to step away and I want to do something else. Like, that's completely understandable. I think front office moves would happen regardless of the new ownership. We've seen that time and time again, how the Rays usually get poached, right?
Peter Bendix, for example, not too long ago.
Exactly. James Click with the Astros a few years ago as well. Like, you see that time and time again, but I wouldn't be as worried on the front office moves. I think the shakeup could be more in the dugout. Rodney Linares has been bandied about as a possible manager for the last, 8 years. It seems like it's like every year they're like, oh, Rodney Linares could be a guy who, well, there's 3-4 teams that are looking for a new manager now. Skip Schumacher just got named the new Texas Rangers manager, but there are plenty of other teams. The Twins are out without a manager. The Giants are out. So, like, there are opportunities there for Rodney to take. I would be more worried about that than front office, because I think the front office for the Rays, obviously Neander's not going anywhere. He's under contract. No. And let's remember that people in the front office, if you're going to get poached, I think it's a rule now within MLB that it has to be for a higher position.
Correct.
Like, you can't just go laterally for another team. You have to actually get a promotion. So that actually might be a preventative move that might allow the Rays to keep the front office more intact. But I would be more worried about the dugout.
Yeah, you could give some of the other front office C-suite employees new titles so that they don't get poached by that organization. The other thing too is with the new ownership group coming in, you wonder if they'll actually place a general manager under Eric Neander, because they've previously had the setups of 4 assistants but no actual general manager under Eric. So that could also change, is that just the hierarchical structure and the reporting structure, just the organizational structure, if you will. The new ownership group might say, hey, it didn't work out bad what you guys were doing before, but we like this way better. And I can't blame Rodney Linares. You get a manager opportunity, that's once in a lifetime. You got to take it. And I don't think the Rays are one of those teams that are try to hold some of these guys back. Like, you find an opening somewhere that's a promotion and a better opportunity. Hey, good luck. See you later. We're comfortable with the guys that we can hire from within. But I would be under the understanding that over the next couple months, we'll start to see more press releases like this of a guy or a girl getting moved or leaving or new naming, whatever it may be. There's changes on the come up, so to speak. So
yeah, it shouldn't be a surprise. Hopefully, it's not something that affects the Rays too much. Obviously, everybody affects the Rays in their own particular way, but I think it's stable enough in the front office, and you have that preventative measure of titling that. It seems like the dugout shuffling would be more in jeopardy than the front office.
A lot of work to do, though, as we've mentioned time and time again. There's the what are you going to do to build a winner again? You're moving back to the Trop. What are you doing about getting a new stadium built? And I know, some of that is more ownership versus front office related, but everybody's going to have to chip in some way or another to keep the ship rolling. So,
100%.
That's where we're at. Carlos Rodriguez, wish the best to him, and curious to see what he'll be doing, whether it's within baseball or out of baseball. On that note, thank you for making us your first listen every day. We appreciate it. For your second listen, check out the Locked On MLB Game Night podcast. That is every game, every night, all season long on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel or wherever you listen to your podcast.